Alright guys, I want to talk to you guys about tools today and tool storage. I have a problem with tool storage here in my garage. I don't have a toolbox that is big enough to fit all the tools that I have. So as you can kind of see down my shelf behind me here, I have about a half dozen different size oddball hodgepodge toolboxes that I've collected throughout the years. I've never invested in a large toolbox that holds all my tools. I never had a need to because I don't work in a place where I need to keep my tools secure. My tools have always been here at home in my home garage. So the building itself secures. Nobody else works in here, so I never see the need to have all my tools in one place and inside a toolbox. The other thing that I've come across is that I have shopped for some toolboxes, and my expectation level as far as quality, function, and form doesn't jive with the amount of money I'm willing to spend on a toolbox. I'd much rather spend money on more tools or on projects than thousands of dollars on a toolbox, a box to hold my tools. It just sounds insane to me. So I have this empty space on my wall here that I'm going to build some sort of rack to hang things up. I hate the way pegboard looks. I know a lot of you guys use pegboard, and a lot of you guys are saying, "Oh, it's so much easier to use pegboard." Yeah, it's easy. It looks ugly to me. I don't like that look. So I want to do something nice and clean and very purpose built for my purposes. Not necessarily some sort of cookie cutter stuff that you could buy at the home improvement store. The other thing I'm doing here is because I'm in between jobs right now, I'm pretty frugal with my money right now. I'm not spending any more money than I have to. So I'm kind of going to make do with what I have already in the garage. But I don't want it to look like it's garbage that I threw together. I want it to look real quality and really good, So I don't really have a plan yet. I have a general idea what I want it to look like, but I don't really know how I'm going to get there yet. So, yeah, I'll have to see how it goes. So, okay, one of the things that I discovered, I purchased these socket holders at my local home improvement store. I think it's Lowe's is the one that I went to. They have these Craftsman socket holders. They organize the sockets real nice, and since I bought these, I didn't put them back inside my toolbox, and I just kind of had them sitting out here on my top of my cabinet here. And I had my ratchets all organized here and all my sockets, and I kind of discovered that I like having my tools out in the open. I don't like, I'm finding that it's easier for me to go over here, grab my socket, use it, and then when I come back to the bench here, I can easily just put it back. I don't have to go fumbling around in drawers looking for stuff, trying to find my sockets anymore. They're all out in the open. So with that in mind, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great to have a shelf on my wall here that held all those sockets? I think I'm kind of onto something here. I'm onto a new idea that I'm going to call Ditch the Toolbox. I don't want the toolbox anymore. At least 80% of my tools I don't want in my toolbox anymore. At least the stuff that I use day in and day out. Of course, I can't get rid of it completely. There's some tools that I barely ever use. There's tools that don't hang up well on the wall and stuff like that. So there's going to be some use for a toolbox. But for 80% of that stuff that I use all the time, I want to have it right at my fingertips and hanging up on the wall here. I don't want to have pegboard. I don't want to have things that don't quite fit what I need. I'm going to make everything that I need. So yeah, I'm going to get started with that. I'm going to film it. I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing and come up with stuff as I go. I really don't have a full plan about what I'm doing. I'm just kind of winging it. So I'm going to take you guys over to the other side of my shop here and show you what I'm doing here. I kind of have these pieces of wood that I had laying around. I left over from some projects that I had going on inside the house. This is actually a 1x6 piece of wood that was once a shelf inside my house, and it kind of just ended up on my wood pile here in the garage, and I kind of just, it was painted different color before this. I kind of painted it red because I was trying to mimic the color of a Toolbox or the Snap-on or Craftsman tool color. So I'm going to change this. This isn't quite the right color, so I did find a better color that's going to work with this. The other thing I did is I bought this 1x2. I just bought this today. It was like $3 at Lowe's, so it wasn't too much money. So I'm going to use that, hang up on the wall, and I'm going to build this, use this as a shelf on the wall, and then kind of build from there and see how that goes. Alright guys, I'm going to paint these. I'm going to paint this 1x2 and this 1x6. The paint I'm using is just a straight up Rust-Oleum spray paint. This is kind of the closest color I could find to the Craftsman or Snap-on Toolbox color. So I'm going to use this and just spray paint these. And the garage is nice and warm right now, so hopefully this stuff dries pretty quick. It's 14 degrees outside today up here in Connecticut, but it's nice and toasty in the garage here, so hopefully this dries pretty good. Usually I don't try not to paint this time of year, but I'm trying to get this project done, and since, like I said, I'm in between jobs right now, I'm trying to maximize the amount of work that I get done on these projects that are time consuming and things that I don't have time to do when I'm working. So when I'm not working, I try to take advantage of this time. So that's why I'm doing it this time of year when I normally wouldn't. So just gonna paint these real quick, and then we'll move on to the shelf brackets and cleaning those up. When I start painting something like this and I want it to be a pretty durable finish, I make sure that what you're painting is nice and clean and it's got a good tooth to the surface. So you want to make sure you scuff it up a little bit with some paint, with some sandpaper, which I've already done. And on the first coat, I don't like to put it on too heavy. I like to be able to see through the first coat and let that dry completely, and then hit it again with additional coats that aren't too thick, because a bunch of thin coats seem to work a lot better, and the paint, it seems more durable that way. So that's kind of how I do it. I mean, you guys, they have a better way of doing it, which is fine, but like I said, I like to do thin coats at first, and especially the first coat, I like to be able to see through it, because that kind of, it just builds a good foundation for the paint. So that's how I kind of do that, get started with that. Alright, so I'm just going to let that coat dry. Probably come back in about 15-20 minutes, I'll hit it again. And I'll do that throughout the day so I can get a real good, hard, robust paint surface on this material. I don't expect that it's not going to chip or get scratched or anything like that, because it is wood, it is going to be tools banging on it, but that'll be the things that give character to this later on as the years go on. So, but for now, yeah, I'll just let it dry and get back to it in a little bit. Alright guys, the other part of this shelf project is building the brackets that I need to hang this shelf on the wall. Now you can just go buy brackets that are very similar to this at your home improvement store, but because I'm being cheap right now and I don't want to spend the money, I had a bunch of this flat stock steel laying around. These are from, I think I pulled these off of some shelving units that we were throwing away at a company that I used to work for. And I took these because I thought they could be handy little project things at some point. So that's where these are going to come in today. I'm actually going to use these today. These have been laying around my garage for years. So yeah, it's just a piece of probably 1 inch wide flat stock. So you can buy this at your hardware store and use that instead. You don't have to have, go find some scrap metal like this. You can actually buy this stuff new if you wanted to make your own brackets, or you can just go buy brackets. You can do whatever you want. But I kind of like the homemade look and the homemade feel of things, so that's why I decided to go with making my own brackets. So basically a piece of flat stock steel that I bent at a 90-degree angle here in my vise with a hammer and a vise. I didn't have anything fancy. And then I cut, the reinforcement part just at a 45-degree angle, and I ended up welding that in with my welder here. So it's doing two things for me. It's saving me money and it's teaching me new skills. So it's a win-win. I mean, if you have the time, then go ahead and make this stuff yourself, because you get way more satisfaction out of it. It's probably better in quality than what you can buy, and you're learning stuff. You're learning, because in this case I'm learning how to use my new welder better than I have, and I'm learning the settings on it, and I'm tweaking and doing some stuff, and I actually got some pretty good beads on these things. I'm pretty impressed with how well the welding came out on these. So with that being said, I'm going to clean these up a little bit. I don't like how they came out because I didn't get in there with the grinder and clean everything up real good. I just kind of threw them together real quick and hung them on the wall to kind of proof of concept kind of thing. And now that I've proved the concept, I'm going to perfect it. I'm gonna clean them up, and I'm gonna make them look really good. So right now, let me see if I can get a little closer to the camera here. You can see that I didn't round off any of the edges. I still have a bunch of burrs and some stuff on here that's not real good. Got all the burrs from when I drilled the holes and stuff. I also want to countersink these holes a little bit, make them look a little prettier, so that when the screw heads kind of sink into the metal a little bit and sit a little more flush on the wall, that'll look a little nicer. And I also bought some paint. I'm going to paint these with like a hammered paint finish. So I bought this hammered paint, Rust-Oleum stuff from the home improvement store. So I'm going to paint these with that. I think that'll be kind of a cool look. And then this hammered finish kind of covers up a lot of sins too. So we'll see how they look after they're done. So right now you can kind of see they're kind of ugly, squared off edges. I want to round these edges off a little bit. I got some welding splatter on these as well. I want to clean that all up, make them look really nice, and hang them up. And well, I'm going to paint them, hang them on the wall, and then once the shelf boards are dry, I'm going to get it all together, and then we're going to move forward from there. I have some other ideas for hanging my tools up and stuff as well. So. Okay, one of the other problems that I've had is with hanging up all my wrenches. So one of my early incarnations of this project was I kind of formed this piece of crap together. This is just a piece of 1x2 with a bunch of finished nails inside it that are kind of half nailed in, and then my wrenches were hanging on that. And while that worked for a little while, it did prove the concept, and it did tell me that I like having my wrenches hanging on the wall. So now that I had this on the wall for a while, I said, you know what, I could live with this. So I want to do something a little better and a little nicer. So what I ended up doing is, let me get rid of this, get this out of the way, is I made this. I made this from a piece of flat stock, the same flat stock that I was talking about earlier, and I drilled a bunch of holes in it, and then I just put a bunch of nails through the backside. So that's basically what this is made out of, is just these 3-inch nails. Drilled a bunch of holes in this flat stock, spot welded the nails on the backside, drilled a couple more holes to mount it to the wall, and that's what I made here. So I'm going to show you how I made this. This one's already done, so I'm going to use that on my regular combination wrenches, and then I'm going to show you how I'll probably start with my stubby wrenches here on this piece and show you how I made it, and you guys could kind of see how this goes. So it's going to be kind of tough for me. I'm going to kind of hold the camera here and show you what I did. my wrenches out here, get my spacing correct. I think this piece is going to be a good length. Let me see once I get this across here. Yeah, I think we're good. Yep. So I can probably even space them out a little bit here. Get a little space between the two of them there. So this is what I'm going to do. So now I just take my pen here and I'm going to mark kind of the center. So I'm going to do it with a Sharpie. Looks like that'll be better. Just going to mark the centers of these areas here, just so I know where each nail needs to go, where I need to drill each hole. Get this in here just right. So you can see I just marked each hole, and that'll be good there. Alright, so move all my wrenches out of the way now. I know where this is going to be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a line down the center here, because I don't want it to be completely, you can see how I didn't put these down the center, because I needed a little bit of room at the top to put my mounting screw for my wall, to mount it on the wall. So, and this actually sits on the edge of my shelf here. I'll show you what I did here. So, on the edge of my shelf here, this is going to drill, and it's going to sit right about like that. So it sits below the shelf a little bit, so all those backs of these nails don't interfere with it, and it's going to leave a nice little edge on the front. So that's why I didn't drill right down the center. So I'm going to mark probably a third of the way up and put a line across like that. Then I know where to put each one of my holes. So, alright, so I'm going to measure my tape measure here and get my about a third of the way up. Ended up being about 3/8 of an inch. Just going to mark that here. So you can see here that I got my line marked. That's the height that I want the holes to be, and then each one of these marks is where there's going to be a wrench in each one of those. So I'm going to prick punch these, I'm going to drill them out, get them all done so I can get the nails inside the back, and that's what I'm going to do next. Do some drilling. So I use this little spring punch. This is something my dad gave me a while back, and this is an incredibly useful tool. Basically what it does is it's got a spring action to it. You push down on it, and it ends up making a little dimple where you want your hole to be, so that when you start with your first smallest drill bit, it doesn't walk and try to move on you. It stays right where that little prick punch is. So I'm going to prick punch each one of these little locations now. Going to put this in my vise to hold on to it while I drill the holes inside. I'm going to start with a really small drill bit because it helps you get centered a little bit better. So I start smaller than I need, and then I'll go up to the size that I do. So. With my safety glasses, 'cause I don't want to go blind or lose an eye or get something like that. So safety glasses, safety first. Alright, as you can see, got my holes done. This hole is the size for that nail. Gonna just prep this up, get this cleaned up for welding. I'm gonna grind this down on the back side. I'm gonna grind the ends of these nails down a little bit to clean them up because I think there's a coating on these that interferes with the welding a little bit, so I don't want that to be a problem. And just gonna trim this end off here because there's this little piece on the end that I don't need. And that'll be this one bracket for this thing. So I'm gonna clean this up now and do some welding. Alright, so nice and cleaned up, ground down, ready for the nails. Cleaned up the nails as well. Those will go right through the back side here. I'll set these up in my vise here, get my welder ready. Gonna do some little bit of spot welding, get those things spot welded in so they stay. And then do a little bit of tweaking, bending, cutting the tips off, and we will be done with this one. So. Looks like I can do about, a little better than half of them there. Let me get those nice and straight, get my vise to hold them. Tap them straight. Alright, so I got my welder all set up and my vise holding on, the nails are nice and straight. Just going to put a little spot, probably 2 spots. I'll put one on each side of each nail. That'll hold it in there enough, and then we'll move forward from there. So I want to be careful with this. I'm not going to use my mask, my welding goggles. I'm just going to close my eyes real quick. It's just a spot weld. I'm not running a bead or anything like that. So. Yeah, it's a little sloppy. I'm not set quite right. It'll be good enough for this. I'll just clean it up. That's good. I like that one. That one's cool. And that's all I really need. It won't need much more than that. So Let me just move this over, get these last three done, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Woo, that's hot! Alright, so you see nice and close, I just put a little spot weld on the side of each one of those nails. Made my bracket. That's good. So now all I'm going to do now is I'm going to just cut the points off, grind those down, clean them up a little bit, and I'm painting this thing and we're done. And there it is. There is the, well, aside from the paint, there's the finished product. So I cut all the nails down to 2 inches long, cleaned up the ends of them so that they're not sharp anymore, and all I have to do is paint it, and this one is done. So I got a few more of these to make. I'm not going to bore you with all that. I got, you know, my gear wrenches to do. I have my brake line wrenches to do, and then this is just my standard sizes, so I got to go do this through all the metric sizes as well. So it's going to take me a while to get the rest of these done, so I don't need to bore you with that. Just wanted to show you the basic gist of it and how I made these brackets for my wrenches. Okay, I'm going to hang up my wrenches now. I have all my brackets are made and they're painted. I have my shelf mounted on the wall, I have my mounting bracket up on top, and we are going to start mounting all these brackets that I made. So you can see I painted them nice, no more sharp edges on them. These are going to mount just below on the board like that. So I'm going to mount it nice and flat, and then all the way across, and then I'm going to hang up all my wrenches and see what it looks like. Alright, there you have it. All my wrenches are up, they're on the wall. Got all my sockets on the shelf. Everything's looking good. Got some room in the middle there, probably going to hang my ratchets up there. I don't know how many ratchets I'm going to hang up yet, so I haven't really gotten that figured out yet. So, but for the wrenches, I'm good to go. Wrenches and sockets. Even got some room here on the end of the shelf for my little charging station. I can charge my phone. I can keep my beer. Everything looks good. Very happy with the outcome.